Amigos. Map on the map. No, nothing over there. Okay.
All right, well, it's 3:30. I'm barely here. So without objection, we'll call this to order and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with roll call. Clint Nelson, Chair here. Steve McKesson, Vice Chair.
I'm here.
Robert Marnett,
Present.
Director Dale, Carrie Dale.
Here.
Mig Gaska is not going to be here. Is that correct, Therese? Huh? Okay, Mig is not going to be here. And Rick Aragon is our alternate.
He should be on.
Yeah, I see him on there. Hi, Rick.
Hi.
Okay, you're here, right? Theoretically, anyway.
Virtually.
Okay. All right. And so since 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members on the committee, we have 3 members here. Do we need to seat an alternate or do we have a quorum?
More.
I think we have, I think 3 out of 5. So Rick, we hope you stay, but we will not be needing to seat you. Don't be offended. Additions, deletions, and amendments to the agenda. As always, I always start with asking the staff if they have anything they want to change.
No agenda items here.
Nothing? Chad, nothing?
Nope.
Roberto?
I would like to add a discussion about the meeting time starting. If you remember, before we moved it from 3 to 3:30 for MIG.
Right.
And since MIG is kind of retired, can we move it back because it'll save the staff on their time?
We were gonna talk about that actually today. We've made some changes recently to some other committees. And so I was gonna talk about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about meeting time. Meeting start time. Let's get through a little more pro forma and then we'll go on that. Okay, approval of the agenda. I'm not familiar with this item on the calendar. Do we need to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, please.
Agenda or minutes?
Approval of the agenda.
Hmm.
I know this is something a little bit new, but it's
It's
pretty-
new,
pretty
yeah.
Standard affair.
Okay, all right. So, I need a motion to approve the agenda for today
All motion.
and that includes, that's as amended with the start time discussion. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Director Dale has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So Steve seconds. And can we vote by voice or?
Yes,
can we-
my voice is fine.
By voice?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Public comment. Do we have any members of the public?
We have no members of the public.
Okay, so I don't need to go through all this then, right? Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm loving it. Okay, now item 8, approval of minutes. We all received minutes when we got the electronic version, and I notice that there's a page out that talks about mentions a correction to the minutes, where also present CFO Williams, that's not our boy Chad, that was supposed to be Aragon, and that's been already corrected. So are there any other changes or additions, deletions to the minutes that anybody here has?
Yes. So under general manager's comments, there's a abbreviation for PFAS, and I don't know that that's the correct spelling out of what PFAS stands for.
Oh, that's that,
Oh,
perfluorotananacadacid acid.
yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, I think
that
it's
is
something else.
incorrect. I think so.
And then under operations managers comments, the first sentence just states that due to the rain, staff started sending sewage to Oceanside, but I know we're always sending it to Oceanside, so I think there's something missing in that
We were sending
statement.
sewage and rainwater.
There we go. All right. That's it.
So what is the change there? We're gonna add
I
and rain?
think actually what you were talking about was we started hauling. We started hauling. That would be the change. Staff started hauling.
Hauling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Started hauling instead of sending. All right. And what was the change on PFAS?
It's going to change to. Let's see.
Because I know it's supposed to be the abbreviation, right?
Per and polyfluorinated substances. That's the actual. Per and
Yeah.
polyfluorinated substances, PFAS.
Okay.
It's a little different.
Okay. All right, you got all those?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, are there any other proposed changes to the minutes? Then not, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the amended minutes.
Motion.
Okay, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, so Carrie moves and Steve seconds approval of the minutes as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Ayes have it. Okay, so when do we want to talk about meeting times versus these others? Should we finish the main items of business and talk about meeting times at the end of that? Is that okay? With everybody?
Sure.
Sure.
Make it
Robert, that okay with you?
That's fine.
number 16.
Then the next item is 5-year CIP update.
Looks like Ahmed's on it. So this is the master plan update slide. So we just want to bring back to the committee, we go through the special board meetings and the workshops with engineering and operations, since the last one was the budget and finance, and the board and engineering and operations was not there and we did not meet. There has been a change to one of the CIP projects, the master water and wastewater master plan update. It was scheduled for $1 million, 500,000 in year one, 500,000 in year two. We've been talking with informal talks with some consultants that do this work. RFP has not gone out on the street yet. And we feel like the more accurate ballpark would be closer to 850. So that has been reduced in the year one category.
Yeah, and that, I mean, really, we talked about it afterwards. And really, it's just going to come down to scoping, right? How we scope this thing. And one of the things that, you know, and this was kind of one of the primary discussions, you know, we were kind of basing it off I'd say your typical master plan needs. I think where ours is a little bit unique is, you know, we're not looking at a tremendous, you know, on the sewer side, maybe there's a little bit more there, but on the water side, you know, we're not looking at tremendous demand increase over time, right? Where massive areas are going to build out. You may have, you know, we know where the big developments kind of still are potential, you know, those kind of things. And typically a master plan, that's what it's going to take you out, you know, your 2030 water projections and your 2040 water projections and your build out projections. And we feel like the build out projections aren't going to be all that different than, you know, the flows that we have today, right? We're probably going to bounce in between that. I mean, we could go further down. That's one thing we are going to have to take a look at. But that's more water quality and, you know, it's kind of those impacts. And so with that in mind, I think that's where we feel like we're gonna, you know, where maybe it was $1 million master plan. It probably doesn't need to be, because that analysis can actually be cut down to, you know, kind of a floor and maximum window that's not a huge range. You know, a lot of times you see these things, you got, okay, we're 50% built out. we got to look at the general plan and see how these, what's going to be built and all these different things, to kind of come up with those demand projections. So I think there's scope change that, we feel that 15%, we can easily attain that by kind of, surrounding that scope, I guess, making sure that scope is a little tighter on that. That was the idea. So kind of put our heads together on that one to shave some cost.
What-
And we're gonna change the name of the project from TBD to something else.
That's the project number. So the next workshop is on May 14th. And then the budget will be brought to the June Board of Directors meeting, correct, Jake?
Right.
And so once that's adopted and there's no more changes, the finance department will create project numbers.
So the $1 million expense,
Oh, first time I've ever seen that happen.
the $1 million expense was showing entirely in the water capital budget. Is there a split out is wastewater contributing a portion of the 850?
It is going to look at I mean, it'll be much smaller, but there should be a
Right.
portion in the,
On
on
the
the wastewater side, correct?
That would be included in the 850, right?
Correct.
It will. And so we can split that because the wastewater has its very own fund, so we can separate that out
Yeah.
accurately so that number can come down by whatever is deducted, but we'll know a lot more once we have the RFP out there and the scope is defined and all of that.
What do we anticipate the duration of this to be, including the preparation of the RFP, the selection process, and the prosecution of the work? What kind of timeframe?
2 years?
What do we-
Yeah,
18?
18 months.
18 months.
Probably 18 months.
18 months. And will we be encountering situations where we are looking to move forward with something and the answer will be, well, we can't do that until we finish the master plan,
Well,
assuming that we budget a series of projects for this year and next year,
those projects will move forward. Where
they will move
they won't,
forward?
yeah, they won't be on hold to allow this to finish. I think the only thing that probably will happen is you'll probably generate additional projects.
So that'd be great.
Yeah, that's what's gonna,
That'd be great.
that's your likely outcome, or maybe some better projects. I mean, if you might reprioritize some stuff, but that would
I've
be
just
it.
been in the situation in the past where entity I was involved in was undertaking a longer term master plan, and it seemed like every time we were ready to do something, the answer was, well, we can't really make a decision on that because we haven't finished the master plan.
Mhm.
And, some important work got delayed. And so I just wanted to check in to be sure that we're not gonna fall into that little.
No, I think we have a lot of important projects that are already there, and those are gonna move ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Is there something you're asking for from
Nope,
us?
this was in for, oh,
Pictures?
sorry. Pictures, of the pump stations? Sure, we have those as well. I was gonna do that under my comment.
Oh,
All right, it's
sorry, I
okay.
thought it was under this.
No,
master-
well, let's
the
do it right
CIP
now.
update.
We have it all queued up. So we have been started to take deliveries of the 3 different pump stations. This one is the West Lilac Pump Station. That's the roof and it comes tilted up. These trucks arrive usually in the late afternoon. And so you'll see them posted up kind of by Nessie Burger, where 395 has a wide spot. They'll go there and oftentimes they use our yard as well. We're trying to deliver each one to its project site. With the exception of Rancho Amigos, the building is actually in our lower yard right now. We had some requirements with the bridge, but there you can see it coming down the road. So you got the flagger trucks in both areas, and there is the West Lilac site. Off to the, where that orange fencing is on the bottom right corner. That's where the pump stations physically will be located. Just some cool shots of the unloading. And so right now they're actively working on the footing for the retaining wall for this site.
So is there no building to put the roof on yet?
Not yet. So the building is in transit right now. It's 5 different loads for
Oh, my.
each pump station.
Okay.
So these trucks, they get here, they go back and they just are making circles. The building for that site, the truck broke down in Oklahoma. So it's under repairs right now and coming our way. Yeah, it's all kinds of fun.
And that's because it's all special wide load truck and.
Yes, and
Yeah.
these are all manufactured in a rural part of Illinois, and they only have one truck in their fleet that is allowed to enter the state of California because of the smog restrictions. So they usually drop them at the border in either Nevada or Arizona, and then another truck comes and picks them up. So it's all kinds of fun.
Oh.
Robert gets involved in the logistics oftentimes. Here's the Rancho Amigos site. So this is the one location that will be double the length of all the other locations because this one has a on-site emergency backup generator for it. So that's that foundation work behind it. Those are the pump cans. So those will go down on the suction side. So there's all kinds of work happening right now. It's spectacular to see. And again, this is right there off of 395 where the truck drivers found a good spot to post up. Sometimes they have to wait 1 to 3 days if they get here early and the crane isn't scheduled to be here for a few days. So these are the pumps and motors. So they're not shipped in the building because these will ultimately get bolted up. And with all the rattling that goes on, these are shipped up separately. So we're actually storing most of this equipment right there at the Thoroughbred lift station. We coordinated with the operations department, said, y'all have a lot of room right now. Can we borrow it? So we're renting some space from ourselves. Just getting in. Do we have the one of the video?
Yeah.
It's coming up.
In the end, yeah.
But once they get into Rainbow, they get a lot of attention. So major credit to our operations department. This truck sits, Robert, was about 8 inches off the ground, if that. And so there was a large concern on all parties that this was going to get stuck on old Highway 395. So the operations department actually regraded our driveway in and had equipment standing on by to drag it in if it needed to. But they did such a good job regrading the driveway. You'll see it. This truck has plenty of clearance. And our operations department did that in-house in preparation, knowing this was coming.
Nice.
It's amazing it doesn't arrive with all these cracks in it,
Yeah.
all the jostling
Yeah.
that's on the road.
And then is that our last one, Ahmed? That's the last one. So lots of activity at all 3 sites right now, which is awesome. And more deliveries. We'll get another delivery tomorrow. And then the one that the truck broke down will arrive over the weekend and we'll offload it on Monday. So it's happened. It's underway.
Yep.
Nice.
So, and then more to come on the CIP as we get through these workshops and then the board finalizes the budget.
Yeah, we have that budget workshop for
May
the 14th.
14th.
I think is the next workshop. But that was the only, I think that's been the only change thus far to the CIP. No other changes to the CIP.
Do we have any more of these already in place? Systems?
The buildings.
Yes. Yeah. The Rainbow Heights pump station is an identical one of these.
Okay.
Yeah, if you ever want to go see it, it's really clean. I mean, they do all this, kind of fit everything up in a shop, and so it looks like it comes together really nicely. It's a
Plug and play, right?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
we take the committee out one time to that site?
At some point, yeah, we did. I
We
remember.
took, Robert and I, we did a field trip out with all you. Yeah, we could absolutely do that again.
One where the ladies fence behind us. I don't know. Anyway, okay, is that everything on this?
I think so, Jake.
Mhm.
Covered it. Yep.
Item number 10, private road improvements involving district facilities or easements. This sounds tantalizing.
Do you want me to kick this off? Okay, so this is this is something we've been looking at. The district has, we've got pipelines everywhere, backyards. But the thing we do have a lot of are private roads. A lot of pipelines adjacent to under a lot of private roads, and we kind of went through the history of this. Now these are cases where a road association, a homeowners association is going to take on road improvements. And over kind of the district's history, we went deep into the vault to kind of see, what have we been doing about these things as far as district contributions towards surface improvements, where we have easements and things like this. And it's a little sporadic. The some of the board discussions way back and even the practice has been, the types of contributions, the amount of contributions and things is really sporadic. And it was a little surprising to me because I've never seen a district contribute to private road surfacing, unless the only outside cases where you own a lot, right? Where you own a lot, you actually become, typically that's how they form these road associations, right? You own a lot and then you're responsible for your share of, at least the ones I've seen. I'm sure there's, other ways of divvying up responsibility and that kind of thing. But the ones I've seen, the one I've been involved in, that's how it is. If you own a lot, then obviously you share that private road easement with all your neighbors. And if there's work that needs to be done, then you share those costs. So I was a little surprised. We've got a couple of these kind of requests come in, one just recently where we do have facilities, that serve the community, that serve that, the community that's making the request. But we're not a lot owner, right? We have a separate public easement, that covers our pipeline, right? Access, construction, reconstruction, maintenance, the things that we need to do. And obviously if we do anything that requires us tearing up the road, we're responsible to repair that road. We don't ask anybody else to share in those costs. So we've kind of started this. We're probably a little early on the discussion because we're kind of working with legal counsel to find out. I guess what we really wanted to bring to the committee was, our take on this was we probably shouldn't be committing to contributions above and beyond what we're legally required to do. And that kind of protects us on both sides, right? Where, if they're, I'm sure that, it builds some goodwill, but, the concern is, now, like we had or at least, I don't know if you'd call it a request. I guess it was a request, from one certain community. It's a really expensive improvement. They're going to put 2.5 inches of asphalt down. It's obviously, it's surfacing and beautification and, provides value to their community. I get all that. But I'm looking at this thing going, if we pay an equal share, and we didn't ask them for the costs, well, what would it be? But I'm guessing it's in the, $20,000, $25,000 an owner, right? And so the concern is, that, we contribute to these, but everybody pays for that, right? So you're paying for surfacing improvements that are happening elsewhere. And so, like I said, we're working with Nossaman and kind of getting, because there's a California code that talks about recovering cost where people, shared easements, right? Shared easements. And so anyway, so Nossaman's really looking at, they're kind of diving deep on, what is our legal responsibility if we have a pipeline easement, not necessarily a road easement versus when we own a lot and those kind of things. So I think we're going to have some more detail come back. But at least wanted to share, this has kind of been happening for a bit, and maybe get kind of a flair from the committee. We'll probably bring back something a little more formal once we get it, like in this condition we would, in this condition we won't, those kind of things, for some kind of a policy adoption or code amendment to kind of formalize it. But I at least wanted to get committee and board kind of feel on this thing before we bring that. I guess that was the purpose of the item. I was actually hoping we would have all the answers and we would bring that to you today, but we're just not there yet. Legals had to kind of dig in a little deeper than we thought on this, because that California code, I think it's what is it, Civil Code 845 or something. I think it is 845. And it talks about it. So there's some interpretation there that I think we need to, it's, you know, it seems fairly clear to me, but you know, obviously we want legal to kind of give us some good direction on what we should and maybe shouldn't be contributing to. So
What is the district's responsibility if we're just doing like a pipeline project through one lane of a two-way road? Are we doing just a trench repair? Are we doing half of the street in the full lane or what?
It depends.
okay, that's a good question.
If it's a county maintained road, typically we'll do the trench and then we'll grind out 12 to 18 inches on each side
Uh-huh.
and then do a cap,
Okay,
typically, but not all the time. On a private road, it's typically just the trench repair. If the road is very badly alligatored and that trench repair destroys everything, then we're gonna do a much wider section.
why is it different for private versus the county maintained?
The county maintained standard usually has that grind and cap at the end. Whereas
Okay.
the private road is not on, it's typically 2 inches of asphalt on native. There's no class 2 road base. Our trench is now the strongest part of that whole roadway.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I recently found out that Wilt is entirely an assessment.
Mm,
It is not a county maintained road. It is a county, they,
county right away unmaintained.
no, the county administers
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
the
It's-
road maintenance district.
Yeah.
And they
Ah.
recently, raised the fees for that, which goes on the tax rolls. I had no idea it was private, but yeah, we've had utilities come in, not Rainbow, but like the cable company came in and did trenching the entire length of Wilt and did just a terrible job on the
Yeah.
patch. And now, you know, everybody that's contributing has to do repair to that. It just looks horrible.
Right.
There's a lot of areas in our service area where the private road associations put it on the county's thing for the county to maintain. So
Yeah.
typically, when we're working in that, we fall under the county permit that is pulled,
Mm.
and that would require a grind and cap.
I mean, that would be, I mean, this is just my personal preference, but
Yeah.
when we're doing a project, I would rather put it back better. You know, that is, I would, you know, I would like to see us do those kind of things, right? Because I think I think that falls under our responsibility, right? When we're building a project, we're doing those things. Yeah, leaving it in a worse condition than we brought it.
Mhm.
I would rather do the betterment at that point. These ones seem outside of, you know, kind of what these contributions that we're doing, even though I understand like good neighbor thing. It seems to be outside of our mission, to be quite honest. And that's why we started questioning
Mhm.
the
The-
practice.
Jake, these requests that come to the district usually are not followed by work we have done. This is
Yeah.
the road association says, we're starting to get a lot of potholes. It's looking really alligatored. We want to make this look nicer.
You
Rainbow,
have
would
money
you?
in the bank account. So it's typically what it is.
Yeah,
You have money in the bank account, so therefore
let's pave it. Yeah.
help us.
Help us pave it.
I know.
Yeah.
What Jake's, you're absolutely right. Robert and I, we've done that before where it's settled. No, we're gonna make this better, or it's alligator. It was already alligator, but we're now pulverizing. it.
Yeah,
So
we've
we're-
already got pavers out
we're
there.
gonna
We've
make
already
it
got,
better.
you know, I like that approach. That approach to being a good
Yeah,
neighbor. Hey, if we
absolutely.
tore up your road, we want to make it.
I think
Yeah, leave it.
I think a policy would actually give you some cover in terms of being able to provide a response
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
people that are asking. I think it would be great too if it included some sort of coordination with the county on their pavement overlay program. I mean, that was one of the things we used to get hammered on at the cities was we just paved this 2 years ago. You can't come in and do any construction work on top of it and rip up what was just put in there. People just like come unglued.
Yeah.
So that would be nice to see too.
That would be, you know, past experience. We used to have like quarterly coordination meetings. I don't know if does the county do?
They still do, and they send us their 3-year overlay list.
Okay,
They send that quarterly.
okay.
We had to contend with that in San Francisco as well, as that when we decided to tear up Market Street to put a rail line in, we gave notice to all of the adjacent utilities. If you want to do anything, now is your time, because
Yeah.
when we finish this up, you're not touching this road for the next 5, 6,
Yeah.
some number of years. And
Yeah.
that,
Between ops
Give
and
all
engineering,
notice.
we pay very close attention to that, and we have pulled projects out of sequence
Yeah.
to go in there before the
Get
county's
ahead.
gonna come in.
Yeah.
right.
Nella was a good example
Nella,
of that.
we did it on Nella, we did it on Dentro, we've done it on a couple.
But back to this.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of wandered a tiny bit
Yeah, a
off.
little bit.
Back to this, I'm looking at these dollar amounts. Which I can understand why we never saw them here at the committee. It doesn't even look like these would be subject to board action. I don't think I ever remember seeing a calendar item for the board for these kinds of drib and drab payments to local entities, whatever they are. So they must have been authorized by the general manager under his signing authority, check signing authority. They may have been disclosed to the board as part of the huge laundry list of
They would,
checks written.
they
but
would have been, yeah.
Probably not any attention called to. There was just a series of 500 checks this month, and 3 were that. And so I want to just make sure I understand that this has nothing to do with the need for us to relocate utilities as the result of a neighborhood's work on a road. Is that right?
That's correct. These are just
This
surface.
has nothing to do with the fact that we have done anything with our infrastructure, with our assets, that would call for the neighborhood or the entity to need to go and make the improvement that they want to make. Is that right?
Correct.
Correct.
Wow.
And so I think,
We've-
and I think it's an interpretation of the code, right? It was an interpretation of the code that, because we held an easement that we're,
That we're somehow a property owner
well, yes,
or?
we're responsible for our share of
we-
the maintenance.
Let me do a quick one. Roll back up to Rancho Sladera. It's on the first page. Just to give you an example, our road's 3,050 feet long.
Mhm.
Everyone is charged proportional to the amount of road that's prior to the property. So
That they use.
some
Yeah.
people are only 500 feet from West Lilac, so they pay very little.
Mm.
I am over 2,000 feet. I pay approximately 10% of any repair cost. And then the 3 people above me pay 13.75%. And you're between, Rainbow's between my property and their property. So you pay just a little over 10% for anything we do. Now, what do? Approximately every 3 years, we spend 10 to 15,000 fixing
Yeah.
potholes, patches, and sealing the road. And they've been doing that for probably close to 30 years.
Yeah.
And everyone's avoiding it because we got a bid for 200,000 to actually fix the road properly, and nobody wants to bite the bullet
Yeah.
to do that. So your share would be about
20 grand.
20 grand out of that. Now, additionally, a few years ago, we bought insurance. So that's paid equally, and that's what your $120. Everybody pays like $120 a year
Mm.
for liability insurance. And if you're not familiar with the road, there's a big curve. And if somebody takes a big truck and it fails over the curve, it's going to go rolling down and
Sure.
be quite expensive. So we need to keep the road good enough that on this narrow curve, it doesn't degrade to the point where it collapses
Right.
and you absolutely have to use the road every day. You come up to the tower, your property.
So we have a tank.
You have a tank.
Oh,
Yeah, so
so
that's different.
so
That's different.
that's
We-
the one
we
we're
have a
talking
tank
about.
in our
Absolutely.
park.
We're in on
You have
those.
to have a tank.
Yeah, we're in on those.
Now, how did you get the tank? In the early 80s, you did condemnation procedures and took a couple acres from one of the guys at the top of the hill,
Yeah.
ended up in court, paid him 50 grand, and then you owned the land.
Yeah.
But you're still a daily user of
Yeah.
that road. And so the association our
Yes.
association views you as just like any other person that lives on the.
But that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
at this point. This is.
No,
about-
you're absolutely right. I think,
Ours showed up on here though, so.
well, we contributed to the road improvements. I think that one would stay, right? If we
own a-
we are a property owner along that route, then that, we have a pump station, we have a tank. You're absolutely correct. We would be a proportionate share, just like how you guys divvy it up. Some people divvy it up evenly, some people do it like you guys
Well, it
do.
seemed to us to make more sense to
It
do it
does.
by how much road you're using.
Absolutely. And that's part of that code is, it allows for that.
But if,
So yeah,
but if the mobile home park off of Retchy Road over here,
Mhm.
right? Valley Oaks or whatever it's called, I can't remember. If they decide that they want to resurface the roads, the little roadway inside their community, and we have pipe that goes under those roads, and our pipe is not causing any issues and it's not being disturbed and we're not needing to move our pipe for any reason, is the assumption that they might very well come and put their hand out and
Yes.
ask us for money?
Yeah.
More than an assumption, they've done.
They
Yes.
do,
They do
they
that.
do exactly that.
So it makes a lot of sense here to define a policy
Mhm.
Well-
whereby for non-ownership situations, that how the code is interpreted,
Subject to what the lawyer finds,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
okay?
to just make it
If
provide
Alfred,
clarity.
if Alfred comes up with something that's unique and interesting, if we were voting today, my vote would be that we do not contribute to that if we are not the cause of the need for the improvement.
And in those kind of cases too, the fact is we probably don't go down those roads more than a couple of times a year,
Right,
maybe,
right.
I mean, our proportionate share would be, even if there was a proportionate share, would be extremely, extremely small. In the other case where we're an owner, we're in with the owners. I think that's undisputable.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's different with an association where they have an individual that's allocating the costs amongst all of the owners. Whereas in my case on Welt, if you're not paying property taxes and public agencies don't pay property taxes, you're not contributing any share to the road improvements. So it's a
Correct.
little different,
Yes.
but it should be consistent with this.
Well, that's what it is. Yeah, sorry, policies to set precedents that we can follow clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So
this one, the
The first
taxing one
statement should
should
be, the first statement in your policy should be if we own property,
Right.
we go down this road. If we don't, we go down this road.
Yeah, because typically it does make us a part, a road associate, typically makes us a part of that road association. Now you're right. The one that's
Yeah.
administered by the county, that's a unique one. I guess, oh yeah, because we're not paying taxes. We would, even if
Because
we,
it's a-
even if we owned a lot,
Yes.
even if we owned a
So-
lot.
Yeah, so there's a workaround that has to be done for that, perhaps, but
Yeah, that is a unique one.
yeah.
That is a unique one.
But I think this sets a precedent of expectation with members in the community. 30 years ago, the district paid for my road repair.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's, I mean,
I
not
know,
a-
it's very hard to.
Not a tremendously popular policy, I imagine, with
Yeah.
people that have private roads and that we're not an owner. But and again, we do have to wait to see what legal comes back with because
Cause if we
that's
can blame-
really
if we can blame it on the lawyer, then we're done, right? I mean, right?
well.
We can't pay because,
I think we should. I think you set yourself up potentially on the other side too. If you're gifting public funds and somebody goes, hey,
Yeah,
I'm not paying for
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
So we really need to be clear on what
Exactly.
we're doing. Yeah.
it'll be interesting when it comes.
what's equitable to ratepayers? I mean, that's
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Should a ratepayer in District 5 be contributing to a cosmetic upgrade in District 2? I don't know. I mean, that
Yeah.
seems odd to me.
So more to come on that, but we did want to bring it up for discussion to get
Yeah.
feedback on this. And I think we learned some
Interesting.
things today. Yeah. So
Okay, all done?
well done.
Item 11. Oh, boy.
Mhm.
This is the Michael Mack Memorial item. Insourcing repairs of customer backflow devices.
So yes, sir.
Robert, before you get started. 3 years ago, under Steve Straypack there was supposed to be a comprehensive effort made to get rid of backflow valves wherever we could to minimize it. We never heard if that was successful or actually carried out. But it would seem to me, if it wasn't, do that as much as you can to lower all the costs that you're showing in here.
I got you.
My 2 cents.
I got you. So 2018, when I started here, our backflow program, just give you some brief history, then Issa is going to get up and talk. And then next to Issa is Alex, who's our cross connection control specialist, and he can answer the highly technical questions for you. But just give you some brief updates, and I should be able to wrap this up by 6 or so. So
He's not kidding.
So don't extend yourself, Robert. It's
He's
okay.
not kidding.
2018, when I started here, the backflow program was in shambles. We were contracting out to have backflows tested. We weren't testing all the backflows every year, so we weren't in compliance. Working with the DDW, which is one of our regulatory agencies, we came up with a cross connection program manual. So basically a manual on this is how we're going to administer our program. We updated our admin code, and then we started requiring our meter readers to be certified at testing backflows. We still had a contractor testing, but we kind of reined them in, got them headed in the right direction, worked with IT, kind of figure out a plan on how to do this. Things were heading in the right direction, and we brought Alex on board, who really was the catalyst for getting this program to where it is today. So where we are today, we've tested all the backflows every single year. We send out repair notices to the people that fail. And if they don't comply with that, then we send out a 30-day notice saying we're going to lock you off. All of that is handled, I would say like 75% by Alex right there. And then the meter staff backs them up in the field. To answer Bob's question, when we did the What's Up project, we actually started looking at, do these people need to have a backflow at this property? And Alex would go out and do a survey on that property to decide, do they need to have a backflow? Because if that was the time to get rid of it, when we were exchanging the meter and doing all that work right there. So to answer your question, yes, we started it back when we did the What's Up project, and it's a continuous evolution. So if somebody calls in, they're like, why do I have this backflow? He will go make contact with them, do a survey. If they have agriculture, animals, anything like that, okay, you got to keep the backflow. But if you're a house in Rancho Viejo where the possibility of contamination is little to none, then he'll make that recommendation. Yes, you can have your backflow removed. So we've been doing it.
And we did a huge effort on that during the West Up project when we were replacing every single meter. We did site surveys, and if it wasn't necessary anymore, it was able to be removed.
Is there any idea how many meters you were able to dispose of? Not meters, but
Backflows, have we ever even counted it?
Can you repeat that? How many are eligible to have them?
During,
how many have been removed?
during West Up,
They didn't-
did we have log of that?
Well, so I came on board, I would say about halfway through the What's Up program. And the majority of the inspections that I've done have been the result of customers getting notified because the backflow failed. And so the inspections would be a result of that. I've probably, I have to look at the numbers, but since I've been here 2.5 years now, I would imagine we've had, somewhere between 75 and 100 backflows removed as a result of inspections, but I have to verify that. But a lot, and there's a considerable amount more that have been inspected and approved to have them removed, but still waiting for the customers to remove them. So there's a lot out there that have been approved that have not been physically removed
So
yet.
related to that, if they've been approved and removed and they haven't done it, do you still have to test them every year?
So so they're removed from our system.
Yes.
Yes. So, but to remove the monthly associated charge. Yeah, that we want to see them removed because we encourage them to not just keep them, because if they're not going checked every year, they're just gonna blow up and the innards are gonna, rubber parts are gonna go out if they're not tested, and they're just
And then you're
gonna
gonna
start
have trouble
dumping.
again.
Exactly.
Okay, that's, does the public understand all this?
So his part of Alex's job is literally every day on the phone with the public and talking to them. And then it's also noted on our website. So we have a whole backflow section on the website for them to click on and delve into. But back to what we're going to talk about today. So Director Mack asked us, I want to say maybe 18 months ago, to look into what kind of effort, what kind of cost would it be for us to repair the backflows and essentially take over the backflows and take ownership of them. At the time he made that request, we didn't have enough data. We didn't know how many backflows were failing per year, how many were complete replacements, how many were just part replacements. So over the last 18 months, we've been collecting that data, and that's the staff report that you have in front of you, the very detailed staff report, multiple pages. So we're going to turn it over to Isa, and he's going to get into some of the detail on that staff report. But it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so a while back, oh, go ahead.
Did we, as, I didn't see it per se in here, as part of this analysis, did we have Alfred look at the extent to which the district takes on the liability of stuff on the customer side of the meter?
No, because
That troubles me, I think, as much as anything is, and that could be an immediate downstream effect. That could be a 6 month later, year later downstream. Anything that goes hinky could ultimately be alleged to have been caused by our repair or our removal of this device on the customer side of the meter. And so I'm wondering if there's been any analysis of what that's about.
no,
Legally, no.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Legally, no. And you read towards the end of the report, you can kind of understand my sentiment, and we're not ready for this. We are not ready to take on, like, we've taken a backflow program for those of you that remember 2 years ago, we were issuing checks to our ratepayers saying, here's a refund. Because guess what? We didn't test your backflow this
I
year.
remember.
Right. And that was kind of embarrassing, right? Like it felt really bad. We weren't testing every device. We were charging the customers up to $57.72 annually, right? We're going to test your device. And we didn't make it out there that year. Some customers, it was even up to 2 years, and we had to give them that check back. So we've taken this program from one that was failing to one that, in my opinion, is now thriving. As Robert mentioned, Alex is doing an amazing job. We're now not only testing every backflow in the district, we've eliminated the contracted services, right? So that's like 100,000 in savings in not having a private side or private contractor to come in and help us with testing backflows. And we're also issuing notices to every single customer, something that has not been done probably like in a decade, right? Like we're telling you,
Correct.
your backflow failed. We're sending you a notice. You need to fix this. If you don't fix it, we're going to lock you off because you're not being compliant. So the backflow program is now in a great spot. We went way, and if you read it, you could go way into the weeds, and we got into failure rates of up to 17%. And this is in 2022, failure rate of 15% in 2023. So we could see like, whoa, our program is moving in the right direction, right? And we break down that failure rate based on your model backflow and how many we were guessing are going to fail moving forward if we were to take on that responsibility of backflow repair. If we take on that responsibility, then we start getting into cost of service studies, right? I know there is one other agency in the area that does perform backflow repair services. Now we could maybe mirror exactly what they're charging their ratepayers. But are we charging the right amount for what backflow repair testing services come out to? And maybe this is more of a Rick question, and maybe comes back to what Rick has shared with us in other meetings. Are we charging the ratepayers the right amount for backflow testing services? Is $57 the right amount for Alex to go out, test a backflow? So to fast forward to the end, I don't think we're ready yet because our cost, what we're guessing is about 319,000 annually. To in-source backflow repairs. Now we got to figure out how we add that to the ratepayers, right? Because someone has to pay for that, right? Plus, we're gonna need another truck, one more staff member. So we're guessing 100,000 for a truck, 319,000 annually. I think our focus needs to be on detachment, getting our pump stations up and running. We might need all hands on deck. We might be calling Alex in the middle of the night saying, hey, we need your help with this leak, and maybe we can further study this. And maybe we circle back to this in about a year or 2 years, but there's a lot more research that needs to be done.
And the genesis of this, as I understand from talking to Michael yesterday, was that there are some number of people, let's say elderly, like me, that they have a backflow that fails and they don't really know what to do. And so it would be a matter of some convenience to those ratepayers to have a district that was able to make the repair, even if they got charged for the repair, even if they got charged for it. And I understand that. I get where Michael's coming from, but
How do you do
I have
one
a
for
lot of-
one
I have a
and
lot
one
of-
for the other?
Yeah.
And how do you determine when he's the only person at the district that's qualified to repair and
Right.
test the backflow?
right?
So if it's me that's on duty, I don't
How do
have,
we deal with, I mean, when you have somebody that has a failed backflow, I mean, how do we help them through the process, I guess? Do we?
So Alex
Yeah.
is the catalyst because they'll call him and they'll say, what is this? I got the mail. And he will sit there and explain to them, if not meet them and talk to them and walk them through the process. So they're not just, oh, you got that letter, you got to figure it out. That's
Do we give them a list of
Well, we do-
contractors or,
We
okay,
have a
so,
list of, we do have a list
Yep.
of sort of approved contractors, I
Yep.
guess you would say, for doing this work.
Yep.
And it strikes me that it's not asking a lot of a homeowner that to be able to take a list and make 5 or 6 phone calls and check to see who can do it and at what price they can do it, as opposed to the district having to keep track of all these different parts, the innies and the outies and the inventory management and inventory control, front ending the expense, carrying the value of that added inventory on the balance sheet, and the constant adjustments to that and
well, and then taking responsibility for it
and then
too.
taking
That's-
responsibility
yeah,
of the
that-
liability on the flip
responsibility.
side. It just, all of it just together makes me nervous.
what does
Yeah.
it do to the divide or where does the customer's responsibility begin and where does ours end? So good example is when you guys are by River Village, meters are here in the sidewalk. Backflows are pressed up against the building. If we're taking ownership of the backflow, who's to say, who's gonna repair the 90 going up to the backflow or the valve or it's like, we're now creating a new divide, which is why the last page shows where our current responsibility ends. It's at the meter, right? Anything after the meter is now the customer's responsibility. It's a great idea. I'm more than happy to take it on. We need to do a big time cost of service study. How much is it gonna cost? Is it 1 more staff member? Is it 2 more staff members? Is it what kind of truck are we looking at? One with a crane that can replace, because our biggest backflow in the district is a 10-inch. Pretty sure.
Six.
No,
we have a 10.
yes.
Oh.
There's one. It's yeah, it is. You're not, so, I think
Oh.
we're,
Oh my.
in my opinion, I think it's not something we want to take on currently. This is more information. It kind of concludes with,
It's an excellent report. I
Yeah.
was going to say it's a really good analysis and it educated me substantially on what this is all about.
and if you guys ever want to get deep into the weeds with backflows, me and Alex are more than happy to.
I can bore you to death.
Yep.
I know there's a lot of districts do these things different ways too. And my experience, other districts, usually is the other way where, you know, they don't even do the testing, right? We don't want to put this on the, you know, and I think that might be more inconvenient than anything. You know, the repair might happen once every, you know, so often, but and I think it's just for that reason. You know, our really the responsibility stops at the meter. So I think us doing the backflow testing it's a good thing because I think that provides probably the biggest convenience. It's not a huge cost, right? It's a short amount of time. We already have the staff to do it. Doesn't require additional equipment and trucks and those kind of things. So I think we're already kind of providing a really good service. I was kind of the same opinion that starting to do repairs on all these different types of backflows really should be left to there's companies that do this work. There's, you know, plenty. And I'm glad that we help them through. That was my question to these guys too. How do we, you know, for that reason, right? Hey, I don't do, you know, I work in my garden. I don't do this, right? But we give them a list of contractors, and obviously the contractors are very willing to do the work, and they can get the quotes to do that. We even talked a little bit too about maybe making it a little bit more convenient on the just this morning we were talking about the certification once it's repaired. You know, maybe working with the contractors where, you know, they'll deliver them right to us, or we can take them electronic, or, you know, something to that effect where you know, the customer's not left with that too, like, oh, what do I do with this? Do I have to walk?
Contractors just send them right to me.
Yeah.
That vendor list that we send them, customer, they know just.
So really, it's just they're paying for a contractor to come out and do the work. Everything else is really kind of handled on us.
It's not like we have very few things to do,
Mhm.
you know, this district the nature of it is that we do not have a deep bench of staff. And, I don't know.
I had the same comment, just economy of scale for a small district is very difficult, but also liability. I think, why would we take on the liability?
Yeah, I concur that it wouldn't make sense from a perspective of fairness and equity. Not every ratepayer has a backflow. So why would I take yours just because you have one, but I don't have one, or whatever it would be? It's either, I like the consistency, and I also like the consistency and clarity of where Rainbow's responsibility ends. There's no argument, there's no fuzziness, and et cetera. So, I mean, from my perspective, I would not be in favor of trying to insource, period.
I did have a question since he's out testing them. Have you run into anywhere the backflows were not in the right spot? And I'll tell you why. Because there's one guy that installs irrigation systems. And when I moved into mine, he had the backflow, and it had been that way for 25 years after my pump. I have to have a pump to go back up the hill because you only give me 16 pounds. So he had it after. He said, that's the way you should do it, right? And at the time, Sherry was the engineer here. And she goes, oh, no. You got to move it. So I redesigned my whole system, put a new pump in, and put it right after the meter where I believe it's supposed to be. Have you run into any that were installed incorrectly like that?
Yes.
Yeah. Many.
Yes.
Cool.
There it is. Yes, I have seen quite a few that are just too far away from the meter, you know, per specs. I mean, you're supposed to have them as close to the meter as possible. The ones that are kind of more blatant as far as being too far away, I will notify those customers. But if I got, you know, ticky tack and wrote up every single one that technically wasn't as close to the meter as it should be, that's all I'd be doing. No, there is, so to answer your question, yes, but you know,
Okay.
I had to kind of be, you know, pick and choose.
I'm
So to
looking
speak.
to Robert and Chad and Jay, and I'm asking the question, what is the staff asking the committee to do here? This does not appear to be a draft of a calendar item going
No.
before the board. So is this just conversation?
This
and
is
feedback?
informational only. We brought it to E&O before we take it to the board at one of the director's requests, and we'll present it to the board and say, this is what we found. And that's it. There's no action requested.
Should we take a vote and recommend it not be done?
No, because I think he just wanted us to look into it and see what would it take if we wanted to do this. So this is what it would take. Now, if that down the road, we would say, if in that discussion, we glean that the board's leaning towards that direction, then we got to talk to Alfred, say, okay, what are we going to do here? We've got to amend the admin code. There's a lot to happen
Mhm,
to take place,
mhm.
before we would get to that point.
I mean,
So,
this is installing a brand new program for the
Right.
district.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary.
Yeah, I think probably on the report out that the committee was not generally in favor might be a,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Good work. Well done. Report was well written, very clear. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Okay, item 12, comments and requests.
Do we want to talk about the time first? Or are we going to say that to the very end?
We can do that. Yes, we can do that now. I'm
Okay.
still adjusting to the new agenda format, so I'm not clear sort of exactly where I am. So because yes, we can talk about meeting start time. Let's do it.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, ironically, I was going to bring this up today. We talked to the communications customer service communications committee month or so ago. I guess it was 2 meetings ago about this very topic. And really I'll give you kind of the 2 concerns we had. The one big concern was not a concern, but quite inconvenient, not very efficient. What we ended up because one of the meetings was the first Tuesday and the other one was the second Thursday
And
okay.
This is the first Wednesday.
So 9 of the, yeah,
You have to
right.
keep it track.
9 of the 12 meetings, communications, customer service, and E&O ended up falling in the same week. 9 of the 12 this year were in the same week. So one was on Tuesday, one was on Thursday. And it just was causing, I mean, you're talking about now 2 agenda packets, and there was, and the bigger problem was really just no rhythm to what we were, kind of what we're doing. And inevitably what happens is like my attention probably goes to one of the committees because there's important, 1 or 2 very important items, and the other one, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I just, we just wouldn't happen. And so really the thought was, kind of twofold. What we would like to do is move the meetings all to Tuesdays. So we have the board meeting on Tuesday. We already had
Budget and finance.
budget and finance. And now we have communication customer service. They did move to, I think now they're going to be the 3rd Tuesday each month. So that actually solves the big issue, right? You have engineering first week, so you have 1 committee meeting a week leading up to the board meeting. And really the idea was that creates a nice rhythm of action items that are coming to committee and then going to the board. And we don't have, 2 committees, we were trying to get, oh, when's the next committee meeting? Is it the first week? Is it the second week? Oh, they're both in the first week. It was, just not very efficient. So we were looking for, to gain a little efficiency on the time too. So the communication and customer service, that was 3 o'clock or 3:30 start. And what we found is, those late starts, it isn't great for staff. A couple things, if you have, hourly, typically we're going into overtime, because, usually you can't just go, okay, let me go back to my office now. There's things you have to wrap up and do those things. And we weren't, we were finishing 5 o'clock or later. This is actually a really fast meeting, or it has been a relatively quick meeting. So we're pushing into overtime and really just not allowing staff to kind of finish up the day, right? Now everything kind of just gets pushed to tomorrow if there's things that happen. So again, just kind of efficiency thing. The big thing we wanted to do was really get the week to week kind of rhythm going. That was the big request from especially the communications and customer service. If you guys would be willing to move to Tuesday, that would be even nicer, like because we have 3 meetings, they're all Tuesday at 1 o'clock. 3 of the 4 meetings, 2 committees and the board meeting are all Tuesday at 1 o'clock. It would be great for just consistency. I know when I can't schedule meetings, it's Tuesday in the afternoon. I can't schedule meetings. You know, again, I think we kind of solved the big issue, but we would like to move it earlier. So if we could go to 1 o'clock, if that worked for everybody, that would be fantastic. If you're willing to move to Tuesday, that would be great too. Not, that's not a heavy request. Because again, I think we have solved the big issue, but for consistency, it would be nice but I don't want to lose committee members over it. That was the whole point too.
I certainly can do it.
Me too.
I can do both. I can move to Tuesday and I can move to 1 o'clock. I'm retired. Okay,
I'm envious a little bit.
so I think it's got people like Steve.
Oh, you mean those of us paying into social security still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hope so. What about you, Robert? Can you make the change?
Yeah, I've been retired 10 years.
Yeah, you can make the change, right? Messes with my golf game a little bit, but that's okay. And I think the one I'm more concerned about most of all, has anybody talked to Mig? Because we originally changed this meeting from 3 to 3:30 because Mig had work that he did and it made it almost impossible for him to attend if we started at 3, but he was able to do it at 3:30. But now that Mig's life has changed, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I would hate to lose Mig. I mean, at some point, all of us move on. I would hate to lose him because he's got so much history with this committee since he served on it while he was on the board. And he's got other history that is valid and useful for us. So I don't know, have you talked to Mig? No,
Yeah. No, we wanted to bring it up today. first
Yeah.
And just kind of have
right? Okay.
let you hear the requests and the reasons why. And yeah. And if we can, we can. And
Good by me.
Yeah, for me, so for the record, yes, I'm able and willing to change both Tuesday and 1 o'clock.
I am as well.
Well, to wit, we are having the May meeting now, so if we did make this change, I guess as a committee, we should vote to make the change. Is that right?
Well, we need to get Mig's feedback first, right? I don't think we're ready for a vote.
Okay. All right. So are we definitely sticking with the first Wednesday of the month for the June meeting? Because we can't have a meeting. If we're gonna get Mig's input, we don't think we have another meeting between now and then.
no, we wouldn't have another meeting between now and then. Does it require a vote to change the schedule?
It doesn't require a vote, and I could also call it as a special meeting on a Tuesday in June before the formal decision's made. We can call a special instead of the regular on a Wednesday.
So
The reason I'm raising this is that I'm being very self-absorbed. I am leaving on Tuesday, the 4th of June. And I will not be back until the evening of Sunday, the 16th of June. I'm going with my wife. We're going to Spain and Portugal.
Jealous
And
again.
so you're going to be thrown into the breach regardless of what they decide.
Mhm.
Okay, as to run the committee meeting. And of course, I'll have that conversation next Tuesday with the Budget Finance Committee as well.
Okay.
So that's kind of part of what my question was about.
Okay.
Budget and finance is already Tuesday at 1.
Yes, it
correct?
is.
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's right.
it doesn't need to change, but
Right.
we do.
Yeah.
Do we have any kind of public announcement notice period because public is invited on that we need to announce a change 14 days in advance, or when do we need to make this decision?
Well, we have to post the agenda for the special at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting time.
Uh-huh.
Normally it's 72 hours in advance of the meeting time. I'm talked to our legal counsel about drafting up a resolution for setting the times and the regular dates for our board meetings and all of our committees, just to make it more formal.
Mhm.
So we're working on something like that, just to get that
Well,
out.
it's not we don't need a 14-day notice or something.
No,
So, okay, good.
Yeah. Typically 72 if it's just going to be a regular meeting.
right?
So, well, we appreciate your willingness, and yeah, if we can make it work, I think it would be a productive improvement.
will you guys be talking to Meg?
Yes, yeah,
You'll talk
we
to
can reach
Meg?
out to Meg. Yep.
Great. Okay,
So we'll let you know.
and so the objective would be the first Tuesday of the month at 1 o'clock. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, comments and requests. General managers' comments?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you, I did this for the communications meeting or members as well. Just an update on what's going on. And I think maybe I did for the board too. With the County Water Authority and the operations plan and that, I think Chad kind of gave you the progress on the pump station. So yeah, we've actually seen some really good progress in just the last few weeks. I was actually surprised. I just saw the picture with the pump cans today. I didn't realize they were that far along. So it's awesome. But on the other front, kind of got two things going on. Obviously, the construction project, and then we're working on operations plan with the County Water Authority, which really just details all the things that we have to do now and the things, communication protocols going forward and SCADA signals and whatever, all these different things, water orders and just coordination items. And we've got for Rainbow, we kind of split it up into the two aqueducts. So the second aqueduct, which is kind of on the west side, the pipelines that kind of run on the west side. And then versus the first aqueduct, which is pipelines 1 and 2, and that runs more on the east side of the 15, kind of west side, east side. On the second aqueduct, operations are a little more straightforward, and we're basically done with that plan. So not a lot of surprises there. It's the County Water Authority still would like to see kind of what's coming down the pipe or what's being taken off the pipeline. So they'd like to see the flow that's coming off the pipeline. And that's really just to help them on their downstream operations. And so we don't have any issues with that. The first aqueduct, the only thing that have to transfer on that side too, the County Water Authority owns the valve vault. So actually the control valve that modulates to control how much flow is coming out off the aqueduct. They own that, so we're going to purchase those from them, and that was part of the settlement agreement. But it's really, the more you look into it, it's not that much. It's really not it's not property. It's really just these things are. It looks like they're just located within Met's easement, and so it's just like a shared easement agreement. So, and I'll get into that a little bit too, but so we have to purchase the valve vaults. Met already owns the meters, so that condition just remains just how it is. The only difference is, again, that those bills will go to Eastern, and then Eastern will bill us rather than the County Water Authority. That's pretty much it in the second aqueduct. We did send them a few comments. They were fairly minor comments back on the second aqueduct plan. We have a meeting on the 15th, I think is our next meeting to sit down and talk about it. But that one is it's complete. The first aqueduct's a little more challenging. It's the County Water Authority has some really kind of tight parameters that they operate on that aqueduct. Really, they've got to kind of time how the flow comes, once the flow starts to come from Metropolitan, from Skinner, they kind of have to time how those flows are taken. And we're the first ones in line, right? We're the first connections, us and Fallbrook. That's Rainbow's connections 1 and 10, and Fallbrook's connection 3, which is actually a shared vault between us, and it's our connection 1, their connection 3 in a common vault. On that side, the County Water Authority owns the control valves and the meter. And so we'll be acquiring both of those facilities on that side. And this is still being worked out with Met. We kind of have to go through their process. It almost looks like if you're going to do a new connection, we're kind of going through that process, but really it's just them coming out and going, does this kind of meet our standards, right? There's a pressure gauge there, and those kind of things. The meter, does it meet their standards? Those kind of things. So that's in progress too. But ultimately, that'll transfer to us. The meter likely will go to Met, just like on the other side. So Metropolitan will take responsibility for the meter. Again, it just changes the billing from County Water Authority to Eastern. There are some nuances on that side too, because the main meter sits upstream of all the connections. So the meter that bills the County Water Authority for all the water that's coming is actually above that. So we're actually going to have to revise that agreement to basically they're going to subtract our flows, right? Whatever's coming off the meters off of that aqueduct, subtract from the Met meter up there. That's the County Water Authority's portion. Our portion is obviously what we took. So a little bit different on that side as far as that goes too. Back to the operations difficulties. Go ahead.
This is not my area of expertise. The meter is upstream of the connection, is that right?
Basically the master meter, yes, is upstream of a host of County Water Authority meters, including Rainbows and Fallbrooks
So there are other straws in the pipe
downstream.
that are downstream of the meter, which is why you need to have a separate measuring device in order to calculate what our straw is going to be.
Yes, and that meter exists already. We're just acquiring it.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
That's it. They use it now to bill each member agency, right? But now we're not a member agency.
Right.
So it basically that just subtracts from their bill. So it's just a little change in
Okay.
in how it,
Sorry.
but it was a point of much discussion.
Will that be shared with Fallbrook or they get their own meter?
They have their own meter. Yeah, we're in the same vault, but we have separate connections and meters. So there will be some kind of an agreement with Fallbrook, but we've already kind of hashed out how we would make it work. No big deal. Where we're sharing maintenance costs on the structure itself, because now it's 50-50 ours.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are we acquiring any of these? I've seen them all through Temecula, kind of out the backside. These towers that go up.
No, those are metropolitan vents.
Vents, that's what I
Right.
figured they were. They were vents.
Right.
And they're Met vents.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think there's any of those that I've noticed inside our,
In our service area,
Towers.
there's one at Red Mountain, up at Fallbrook's Red Mountain. There's a vent up there. Is there?
I've seen
Across
some-
across the freeway, just south of what is that? Rainbow Valley Boulevard. There's one, you can barely see it.
because I've seen in other places, lower lying things that are only about.
Those are access points.
Access
They're
points,
concrete
yeah.
structures. You open them up and then you can get in there.
Okay.
So those are all really attached directly to the main aqueduct. And so those, depending on if they're on the Met side or the County Water Authority side, those stay with them. These are offshoots, the straws from the main aqueduct. Those are the facilities we'll be acquiring. But like I said, the meter will go to Met, control valve will own. On the first aqueduct, the request from the County Water Authority is they would like to continue to operate the control valve on Aqueduct 1. And the reason being, again, back to their they've got this really small window downstream where they have to maintain, if they're taking too much or taking too little, basically they'll spill and the flooding actually causes damage. It causes damage to houses and things like that. If you don't take enough or if you take too much, then there's not enough downstream and actually depressurizes the pipeline downstream. They can't serve others. So on this side, like I said, on the west side of the freeway, it's just not the case. It's just not that finite. It's got a lot more leeway to it. So that's their request. They'd actually like to continue to, basically place the orders still through the County Water Authority. Their only responsibility is they control that control valve. We didn't fight back on that too hard because it leaves the liability on, for all the downstream stuff where we would be taking on that liability otherwise. So they feel more comfortable. They've been operating that entire aqueduct, and so we're okay with that. We're working on that operations plan. We did get a draft. We sent them back comments on the draft, and so that one's actually getting pretty close to complete too. The only things that are kind of holding that one up is the coordination with Met, because we do have to kind of come to this are the meters going to go to Met, or does Met want us to own those meters? And they wouldn't commit to it until they actually got a chance to kind of go through their process. And so we're waiting on that. And that really is the most complicated item left, I would say, on that side is we're going to have to, kind of revise these operating agreements because they're specific to the water authority and that. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but they've already committed to, because Fallbrook kind of needs their connection soon, right? When it starts to warm up, they're not using that connection right now. So they determined, hey, we'll just leave it off for now. But so they're going to do an interim agreement that just says, hey, yeah, Met will get the bill. We'll send it to Eastern and whatever, and then formalize it over the course of this year, basically, as they get the kind of the finer details worked out. So that's it on that. The biggest thing that's been going on is the rate discussions, and the board heard this, but I think even after the board meeting, County Water Authority had a board meeting. So we kind of know a little bit more on what's going on. So over the last several months, Metropolitan was looking at they do a 2-year budget, so set rates for a 2-year window. And so that's due this year for 25, calendar year 25, calendar year 26. Pretty extensive discussion. They've got some real challenges, with the wet years. Demand has been down. They've been trending down already. So not selling a lot of water, really like record lows. And a lot of their budget is based on variable sales, right? As the sales don't come in, their budget gets hit really, really hard. I think they're 80% of their revenue is based on how much water they're selling. So it creates some real financial difficulties for them. They have drained their reserves to a point where they're, again, kind of teetering at minimum, and they're looking at going below kind of these minimum levels. It actually got to the point where they were saying, if they missed their sales projection, as part of this budget, and I heard this from several of their directors, if they missed their sales projection by 100,000 acre feet, which they have done, County Water Authority missed theirs by 100,000 acre feet, they would actually, reserves would go to zero. They would actually run out of cash. And so they were, they're kind of on the teetering edge there of having to do something pretty significant as far as rates go. And so when they finally got down to it, they approved the 2-year budget. And what you'll read in the paper is 8.5% increases, January 1, 2025, January 1, 2026. What's it's not deceiving, but that's a melded rate increase. They have all these different rates and charges. It's melded together. It's 8.5%. What it means to most of us that buy their treated water is more like an 11% increase January 1, 2025, not more like an 11% increase on January 1, 2025, and a 10% increase January 1, 2026. So pretty dramatic. The way they were actually able to get that down, originally when they came out, it was 17. It was 17 and 8 or something like that. So it was, in the higher 20% over 2 years. They actually leveraged more of their ad valorem tax revenue. So they have the ability to adjust their ad valorem rate, which covers their costs on the state water project. And so they actually doubled their ad valorem, so that goes on your property taxes, but it's pretty low. Generally, it's like a $20 charge or, $11 charge, depending on your value of your property. And so they actually raised a lot of the revenue they did through that, which doesn't have to hit our rates. And so anyways, but that was the bottom line. So that being said, that now goes on to the County Water Authority. So now the County Water Authority is going through the same process where now they're factoring in Met's rate increase. They're factoring in a detachment. They're blaming us for some cost. And then their own, just general increases, right? Chemicals have gone up and labor has gone up and different things. And what they originally showed was they were going to need about a 13% rate increase. So a little more than Met did. and that didn't address any of their issues. They have a lot of the same issues that Met has. They missed their, like I said, they, you know, they're in their sales projection was 400,000 acre feet or whatever, and they're going to miss it by 100,000 plus. And they're going to be under their take or pay contract, their take or pay contracts. So they're basically storing water, you know, putting water in San Vicente. San Vicente is just about full. They said actually it might spill.
Storing treated water in San Vicente.
Well, yeah, the water they're purchasing. Yeah.
Yes. And then they have to treat it again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So kind of pulling,
Yeah.
Really?
so really, really tough situation there too. And on top of that, on the financial side, basically the same story. Their cash on hand is extremely low. Their reserve levels, you know, rate stabilization fund is basically gone. They've burned that over the last few years, trying to keep the rates, you know, and so not a lot of things left to do other than raise rates. And so last Thursday, what we saw was initially they came out with a series of options that ranged between 16 and 22% for January 1, 2025, 16 to 22% rate increase.
At the individual ratepayer.
Well, for their wholesale costs.
Okay.
But yes, that's going to be passed on to all of their member agencies, right? They don't collect any of that. So that all gets passed on to their member agencies. And it sounded like from the discussion they had 8 or 9 different options, that it was probably, you know, looked like maybe the 20% option was going to be where they actually, and so that helps them address some of those things. They were talking about defunding their capital improvement program, you know, with only, you know, if they only did a 13% rate increase, that's what you're looking at. We can't do any projects. We're, you know, cut the capital, downgrade on our debt, you know, kind of some pretty.
So it's a
pretty
very
crazy stuff.
inelastic market is what we have, because there's nothing about Keynesian economics that's at work here. You know, demand is declining.
Mhm.
All the reservoirs are full, supply is lush. We have, you know, those are market conditions that would typically say price would fall.
Mm.
But with these
Mhm.
entities, because of a whole variety of things, the price goes up.
Yeah.
But there's never a scenario in which the price goes down. Never.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it
Yeah.
yet.
I,
Yeah.
I don't think this is new. I mean,
Right.
Metropolitan and the Water Authority have historically, for a long time, been very bad with their projections and have overestimated demands. And then it causes this problem where they have to raise the rates, and they just have not corrected their rate structure to bring in more fixed costs versus
Yeah.
the variable. And
Bringing stuff into the light.
Yeah.
Really a problem.
So they're getting a lot of some push in that direction too. Like you need to make a major change towards that, you know, in that direction. You know, you gotta recover more of your fixed costs. But yeah, they've invested, you know, and I don't know if anybody could have imagined that they would go down to 290,000 acre feet of sales from, I mean, they were at what, 600, 700, whatever it was. You know, it's been pretty drastic, but that's the situation that they're faced with.
Prices raised to the consumer over and over and over. There is a point at which the consumer turns the spigot off.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's-
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what happens.
And you know, they did try to fix this in 2015. They added a new fixed charge. They created this new fixed charge, which was supposed to fix everything, but the projections are not where they need to be.
Yeah. So, and they've got more, you know, they've got San Diego Pure Water's coming in the next couple of years. The East County Pure Water's coming.
So we just keep investing more and more capital at the cost of capital to generate more and more supply when supply is not the issue.
Currently not the issue. That's
This is
very,
crazy, Bill. You realize this is crazy. This is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's Met's going through the process, this camp for water process, climate action management plan for water. And so they're looking at all those things. They're kind of looking at all their supply projects. Pure, you know, they're kind of moving down the pure water path, right? Are we going to treat all this wastewater? We're looking at building the tunnel, you know, through the Delta. These are very, very expensive projects. And so they're at least taking a step back and going, hey, we need to have, a plan here. If demands pick up, yeah, we can pick back.
Why can't we sell some of the water back to the farmers that we took it away from in Arizona when we couldn't?
Reverse the flow in the canal. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean,
Push water uphill.
it's been done, right? Push it. I don't know, just
Push
a
it
thought.
uphill.
I mean, we told a whole bunch of farmers, not us, but I mean,
Fallow and
yeah, a whole bunch of systems told the farmers out there in Arizona,
yeah.
can't keep taking that Colorado River water, so
So that's a lot of what
push it back to them.
I know the county water authority is trying to do. They did a deal at the end of last year where they left 50,000 acre feet in Lake Mead, and instead took it from State Water Project, basically, bought it from Met, and then the federal government kicked in a bunch of money basically to cover the cost. So they saved some money there. You heard, you may have read they're working on a deal. Miguel, which is a smallish, medium-sized water district up in Orange County, is maybe interested in some of their desal water when times get tough with drought and things like that. So they're trying to work deals to sell more water, or sell some of that reliability that they built in. But yeah, the problems that are facing them right now are pretty heavy.
Yep.
They're pretty heavy. So we need to be out by January 1st. That's the big story.
But I think too, carrying the message through that Metropolitan's allocation or their water supply forecast also needs to be on target, or they're going to have these big issues continuing and we can't get out of that.
Yes. And actually they came in this year when they started that budget process, they came in with the original sales projection was like 1.44 million acre feet. And the board actually forced them to lower it by 100,000 acre feet, just because, I mean, it was that story. If you miss this by 100,000 acre feet, all of our reserves are gone. We cannot miss. And so they dropped it by 1.34. They're going to actually sell less than that this year, with less than the 1.34, less than the projection. So it's still a little tough. I mean, we've had 2 wet years, so you figure, but it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot because actually when they had that extra, and this is why, right? When you had that extra 100,000 acre feet in, when they came with the 1.44, when you do that ad valorem tax, it actually pushed the rate increase down to virtually nothing. It was 3% or something like that. But you got this high sales projection again that puts you at just such a risk that the board went, no, we've got to lower that. And what is the actual, now what's the issue? And so that's where they came with the 11.
I mean, it might be something that should be discussing in the context of the budget here this year too, is what are we looking at in terms of the forecast?
Yeah, for sure. I think we budgeted, and I think we did cover that, and I know Rick's on, but we budgeted 10,000 acre feet. I think this year we're gonna end up above that. It sure looks like it. We're probably but not much. I mean, we're probably going to be in the 11,000 or something like that. I think demands have picked up even just in the last week or so. But it was pretty wet, so the sprinklers were off for several months. I know that we didn't sell much water for a couple of months.
Probably right at 10,000.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah. And so that's what we're budgeting for next year. It's a pretty conservative budget. I mean, and then obviously our fixed rates cover a lot more of our expenses than either the water authority or Met. So we're a lot safer there, which was the whole point of that we're not reliant on how much in water sales to cover our core costs.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. So, the only other thing, and sorry, I've kind of gone long here. The crop swap is live. So the program's actually open. The website, you can do, applications open. I think they got it all kind of the bugs worked out just in the last day or two. But I checked this morning and, you can click on apply now and everything's ready to roll. So that program is up and running. We'll kind of keep you posted on activity there. We had about 50 or 60 customers that signed up on that kind of that initial interest list. So they kind of got direct information, emails and things with, flyers and website links and all that kind of stuff. And then to all of our eligible customers, we have just a postcard, a postcard going out that kind of gives the details and again, website and, if you have a potentially eligible project. The only thing we did make a change was kind of how we're administering it. There was, 5 million in the program. Everybody did make their kind of initial contribution. It was $25,000 to kind of get the program up and running, right? Just the administration stuff, get the build the website. There's a administrator, so it's a staff member, Rancho's handling that. That's actually administering everything, just so it's consistent and all of that. And so for each of the organizations that contributed, basically reserved an initial amount, which was $200,000, what we landed on. So $200,000 of the grant funding is basically attributed to each of the agencies. Then so that's like $1 million or $1.2 million, and then the rest is first come first served. If you're spending more, if you're utilizing the program more than that, then it's available to everybody. But we want to make sure everybody had the opportunity to get some of their customers to participate, even if they were a little slower than some of the others. So that was the idea, that everybody would benefit. But other than that, it's going. The one thing, I'll just let you know on this too, on the detachment stuff, one other thing we had to do was we need an extension from LAFCO. So LAFCO's initial resolution indicated or mandated that we had everything done by July of this year. So July 10th. I think it was basically a year from the day they made the 5-3 vote, approved the detachment. And so we got that extension from them. We basically made the request, it did the paperwork that was necessary and all that, and they extended it by a year. So basically Siri is listening to me.
Always.
Okay. And so that's taken care of too. There's a couple cleanup items here. So that's out till July 2025. We should beat that by at least 6 months. But wanted to give ourselves a little grace there because we do have a construction project that's happening. And the other thing was the boundary map. So when we go to file the notice of completion, you have to file it with a boundary map. So this area of your district is now going from this to this. And the Fallbrook had a little bit of trouble when they were doing theirs, more just technical stuff. The county's a little bit particular when you put those maps in that, you can read everything that's on there, and they've gotten pretty particular. And so they had a couple days there where they were kind of struggling to get their thing through. They ended up getting it through. But as kind of a courtesy, the county went through and checked ours, like, hey, just make sure everything matches on Rainbows, because we know theirs is coming in a bit. And there was a couple discrepancies. So their total count of parcels was off by, and I think what happened was there's probably an annexation or two that occurred. Maybe the property is over here, Meadowwood, or one of these that went from San Luis Rey to us. And so we're working with the county to make sure way ahead of time that our map is A-okay, so we don't run into those same issues. I actually met with intentionally Jordan Marks, who's the county assessor, gave a presentation at the Mineral and Gem Society. Have you ever been, or a museum? Have you ever been there in Fallbrook? Oh, you should go. It's a place. He was given a presentation. It was mostly for retired folks that, transferring properties and things like that. It was really good. But anyways, I wanted to go meet him and just let him know kind of the timing of when he's probably going to see our thing, and just make sure that, and it was good because whatever you guys need, if you need help from the county staff, just let me know, and that kind of thing. So anyways, just a couple of other things that we're doing to make sure it all goes very smooth. And I'll just stop there. There's a lot, there's more to talk about, but I don't want to talk.
Okay, any questions for Jake? Comments or questions? Okay, Chad?
Mine is short because we did the pump station project during the CIP update. I will let the committee know. We're down a team member in the engineering department. We are actively recruiting. I met with Carlene, our HR manager, earlier today. And so if anyone knows any civil engineers with little project management experience, we are looking for a qualified candidate.
I saw your post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Carlene goes, can you repost it again? So I did it again today.
Maybe I'll push it out myself. I
That would
mean,
be-
it's completely outside of my space.
That's okay. Let's just spread that net as wide as we can.
Yeah.
So we're actively.
Is this the Amanda replacement or is this the Michael replacement? What are we doing here?
It is the Amanda replacement, but we'd kind of looked at the needs over the next few years in particular and felt like we wanted to try to recruit for an engineer. We've got a master plan we're going to be doing and more on the design, projects more on the design side. I think, we've got some pretty heavy construction going on right now, but more on the design side. So that we kind of put our heads together and decided, hey, I think we want to recruit this position more on the engineer side to try to get a PE. It's really difficult right now, though. Every consulting firm is looking for the same exact thing. And I've heard that from them. The private sector is paying really well. Everybody's really busy. And so, getting a high quality engineer is tough, but we're doing everything we can to try to put together a good recruitment.
We
And
won't, I'm fully voting in support
No.
of, I mean, about
Shocking.
time that we had an engineer somewhere in the engineering department.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. It's not the project manager or senior project manager job description, and it's not the old associate.
Right.
We redid a complete new job description. So yeah, spread it out on LinkedIn or wherever you can.
Well, I was noticing on the as needed report that we are not spending any money on-call civil engineering,
Not right now.
not right now. And we're not spending any money except for one contractor, we're not spending any money on the on-call construction management.
Well, so you're looking at something because our last meeting was at February.
Right.
February. So
I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong.
there's an updated list, but it wasn't done before the due date of this committee. So we are using construction management and inspection services. So that'll be on the board one and your next committees. It'll have an update. So we are spending money there. But those 99.9% are charged out to the project or
Right.
developer that they're working on.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So you'll be able to review that from Spain.
Oh, yeah, that's right. On Tuesday at 1:00.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only one on this is for Helix. We had to do a nesting survey to do some weed abatement. I believe is the only one on the one that you're.
A nesting, so we have another $50,000 bird?
It didn't cost that much. And there was no birds. So we were able to go do the clearing. Well, I mean, on that note, we actually got great news. I shared it with the management team a few weeks ago. We had to do a nesting survey at the pump station sites and there were no birds found. And so no sound walls. That's hence why this construction is progressing the way it is. So
Get it done now.
right.
it's hard to do. I mean, the nesting, it's long. And so, but you have to do these surveys and we got lucky.
Do we have to protect the cicadas?
I don't believe so. Let's not even put that on anyone else.
Not yet anyways.
Yeah, not yet.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Roberto, operations?
Yeah, two quick updates. So we got a crew working on Camino del Rey across from the San Luis Rey horse training facility. They're probably gonna be there all night on a 16-inch water main that's leaking. It's probably 10 or 12 feet deep. So they're in the water table on top of that. So they've been fighting water leaking out of the pipe, water leaking out of the ground. But we'll get it. We'll
And you
take
do
care
a
of it.
pavement patch with that.
The good news is it's on the side of the road. So it's that when you're going down Camino del Rey on the south side of the road, it's like this wide, like 60 feet wide of dirt. That's where our water main is.
On Camino del Rey.
Yes.
For now, until the county realigns.
Yeah.
So you're hoping
Portions of
osmosis
that road.
does the trick, right?
Yeah. The other update in regards to our meter exchanges. When we went down this path, January of 2023, we identified just over 500 meters. We've completed those meters. And in fact, we've pushed up to a number of, since we initially did that identification in January, as we started going through and exchanging meters, we found more. So where we're at now is about 660 meters. And now we're starting to get into that phase where we are caught up, but we're going to see what the summertime brings to us with new meters. So
So Rob, this is where they were under registering or
Under-
overspinning or?
yes,
Mhm.
decoupling.
Mhm.
We had a lot of decoupling issues. So yeah, we knew it was going to take a while to get through everything. There were some hurdles with getting supplies in, but typical 3 or 4 month delays to get meters in that we needed. But it's been successful to this point. So I feel like now we're in that phase where there may still be some that decouple. And as like Jake mentioned, our flows are starting to pick up. We'll probably identify a few more, but now we can start getting into, let's go back and look and see which ones are getting ready to turn over already. And now let's address those, because let's say a 1-inch meter should last you 10 years before it rolls over. Right. So if it's only been in the ground 3 years and it's rolling over. So now we're starting to look at to capture those before they roll over multiple times and they're just completely under registering again. So
Not to mention the implications for what those customers should be charged, not only for volumetric use, but for capacity, right?
yep. But we're in a good place now, and it's taken us, yeah, just over a year to get here.
Okay, so you're gonna gather a lot of data now that all the meters are working. And then in the end, you should have a big spreadsheet that says these 100 people need 1.5 inch. They're only paying for 3/4. And then you go and you get in the admin code and you figure out how to get that revenue.
And we actually have the spreadsheet now. That's what we've been working off of. Med pulled together a pretty detailed spreadsheet. But yeah, that is the next step that we're trying to work on.
Yeah, we really kind of need those summertime flows to justify or to actually see that data.
It's hard to watch all the
Yeah.
money
Mhm.
that should be coming in, not coming in.
Yeah. Well, that should fix the registering problem. And then from there, it's just now it's the exceeding capacity
How
issue.
to get these people to go with a 1-inch or a 2-inch pipe or
If
whatever.
you need a longer,
really
or
should be
a larger meter. Yep.
Okay, anything else, Robert?
Nope, just wait for the QED.
Any committee members have anything they want to talk about? At 5:17 PM?
I do not.
Really
Okay.
quick.
Or-
I didn't say anything during the CIP update, but when it comes to the board, I'll probably be a little bit more vocal. I really feel like we should be prioritizing just the detachment and safety projects
Mhm.
in the CIP this year, just with the issuance of the debt
Mhm.
and the need to replenish reserves and just be fiscally responsible. So I'll just be making that comment.
Okay.
When it comes.
Hence
to
why
the
we are
board.
not assigning project numbers at this time.
Okay.
So we are waiting for the board's full
Yeah.
decision on that.
Yeah, I just have concerns with
Okay.
the financial ramifications.
Any other committee comments?
So well, just clarification, we could talk more at the board, I guess. Detachment, obviously, yeah, projects we have to do. There's a couple of safety projects, and the master plan.
And the master plan, yeah, and the master plan. For sure.
Board action updates. Since we hadn't recommended anything to the board, I don't think that there was anything on the board's most recent calendar that came through this committee.
No,
And the
You
purpose of this,
we just met for the May board meeting. But we're still finalizing that. Right. Yes.
there was nothing that,
No.
because we
We're-
didn't meet, and there was nothing that came from this committee current or prior month that went to the board for action, so I don't think there's anything to
Nope.
report on.
We're hoping to have some notice of completion soon, but it's all contractor, developer driven right now on the timing of those.
And it doesn't sound like there's gonna be anything from this committee going to the board for the May meeting as well, right?
That's correct.
Correct.
That's the next.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even the backflow
The backflow will go to the board.
Yeah.
The
back-
the same discussion. Yeah. same
discussion.
Okay. Yes. As needed. No new tasks, I think, right?
The one.
Huh?
The one for Helix. The bird nesting survey.
Yeah, I didn't see it. But I did see something that I thought was very interesting. I don't see any bright, oh, there's the bright yellow. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, thank you. So we have lots of capacity, contracting capacity for civil engineering and for construction management available to us because we're not using much of it. You say we're using some, but overall,
Yeah.
not using much. And pursuant to the conversation we had yesterday at ad hoc, I see that, and I remember, I think it was a response to Helene. I see that we engaged Epic Land Solutions in preparing an appraisal for rental and sale of property, Beck Reservoir, the Bonzel Reservoir appraisal for rental and sale, Beck Reservoir appraisal for sale of property. We spent $7,000 on that engagement with them. And I don't recall seeing or hearing what the result of that was in terms of what they thought the sale price what might be an appropriate sales price.
I can tell you.
Huh?
I can tell you.
Oh, you know?
I do.
Hit me.
The Bonzal Reservoir property was in the 220,000, 230,000. What's they?
I think it's 220, 240-ish.
Yeah. In that, yep. Yeah, not very much.
It's a giant hole in the ground.
Right. And I think the reason, well, I read through it and yeah, that's basically it. So they're saying, hey, your highest and best use is residential, potential residential development, and you would have to fill in a giant hole before you could actually build a house on there. So it kind of diminishes the sale value of that property. I think it's a property we don't want to sell anyways, but and then the Beck Reservoir, that was
It's actually the lot.
the lot next to the Beck Reservoir. That one was a little better. It was 400, mid 400s.
I know Colette, she's listening. She's gonna chime in right now. I thought it was even more than
Is
that.
this the 6 acre or
No.
the 4 acre or the 27 acre?
The 4 acre.
4 acre.
Is Colette listening?
She's listening.
Does
She's
she know? It was in the 400s though. Call it 450. It might be 480. It might be 430, but it was in the 400s. Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
But that's really another topic
It is
for another,
another committee, maybe.
yeah, because I've been going through this just.
Yeah, but those ones did come in. Yeah, so I think it was worth the time, and we can have more discussion on that. I think the Bonzel Reservoir, it's not a price you would really want to get rid of that for. It's a nice 6 acre property. We get lease revenue from it. And I envision a couple potential uses for that property that we could see. And so we had a lot of discussion about that yesterday. But
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, list of suggested agenda items for the next meeting. So I guess there is a chance that the backflows will come back, right?
Possibly. We'll see what the board's
It's a chance.
response is.
Chance,
There's a slight
yeah.
chance.
Okay, and I don't. Private road improvements, I guess that might come back once Alfred tips the scales one way or the other. Okay, all right. And I think that's it, isn't it? That's all we've got here.
Known today.
Huh?
Known today, whatever comes up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So, that gets us to item number 16, adjournment at 5:25. QED, let's quit and eat dinner, right? All right.
Quit and eat dinner.